Hello, it's Dr. C again with another memory. Now, the topic for today's memory is something that has to do with a hobby that you have. It's very interesting to me how hobbies can structure a lot of people's time and the people with whom they spend time. If you're into motorcycles, you're around people who are into motorcycles. If you're a rock climber, you're out in nature climbing rocks with other people who are into that. If you're into hot air ballooning, you're traveling around from fiesta to fiesta to go up in your hot air balloon. If you're into rocks, then you're more down to earth and you're with people that are into going to rock exhibits and different things like that and looking for rocks. If you're into stargazing, you've got a telescope. These things, they structure what you purchase. They structure the people who become your friends, all kinds of things. So today, my memory is entitled The Ozzie and Harriet Nelson Family of Ventriloquism. Years ago, after I'd had my puppet for a while, my puppet Elwood, I began to get more involved with the world of ventriloquism. Up until that time, I always had a puppet, and I used it, but not the way I started to use it after I got Elwood. And when I got more involved with the ventriloquism world, I began to read a ventriloquism magazine that came out every month. And one time as I read it, I found out that a man named Valentine Vox had opened a museum that had ventriloquism puppets in it, old ventriloquism puppets. And I thought to myself, wouldn't it be fun to take my family, by the way, we all had puppets by that time, wouldn't it be fun to take my family and our puppets to the museum so that they could meet their ancestors? I thought this was kind of a clever idea. And my family, they were up for a trip to Las Vegas, so none of them were going to complain about this. Well, I worked with some people on my ventriloquism activities at this point in time, and I asked them if one of them could come and make a video of this if I did it, and they said yes. So I called up the owner of the museum and I explained to him what I wanted to do. And he said, of course you're welcome. Not only that, I will open up the museum early for you so you can go through and make your video while the museum is empty. And I thought, well, that's wonderful. That sounds like great fun. And again, I had this friend who was going to go with us to make the video. Well, right before it's time for us to go, the friend told me that she couldn't go, that other things had come up and she was unable to go. But she said, I know somebody who produces videos in Las Vegas, and I think she'll be willing. I've talked to her, and she'll be willing to do your video for you. And I said, okay. And she told me what it would cost, and it wasn't going to cost very much money. And I thought, I'll do this. So we packed up our puppets, and off we went to Las Vegas to go to the Ventriloquism Museum and make this video. When we arrived, I called the woman up and told her that we were in Las Vegas. And she asked if it would be okay for her to come and visit us at our hotel room so we could talk a little bit more about the project. And I said, of course it is. So a while later, she showed up at our hotel room and began to talk about the plan. Now, the first thing she told me was how good she was. And she did this by saying names of people for whom she had done videos. And a lot of the people were relatives of famous people. So they were famous by association. And she went on and on about all the great things that she had done. And then she began to talk about us. And she said to me, she said, you guys are like the Ozzie and Harriet Nelson family of ventriloquism. And for those of you who don't remember Ozzie and Harriet Nelson, they had a very popular television show in the 1950s, and their son, Ricky Nelson, became a famous singer several years after that. Anyway, that was quite a compliment. I didn't think it was true, but it was still kind of a nice compliment. And she said, I am so excited about doing this video. And we set up a time to do it the next day. Then I said to her, I said, here's what I have planned. I think I'll write some vignettes tonight, and we'll go to the different exhibits, and we'll do our vignettes in front of the exhibits. And she says, no, that isn't what I want at all. That's not good. What will be better, she said, is as you walk through the museum, you do improvisation. You just improvise vignettes in front of the different exhibits. She says that will be much, much better. At this point in time, I said to her, we don't have those skills. I said, we haven't been doing this long, and we do not, at this point in time, have the ability to do what you're asking for and to do a good job. She says, no, you'll do just fine. Believe me. She says, this is the best way to do this. So, reluctantly, I said, okay. The next day we show up at the Ventriloquism Museum, and we go in, and she arrives shortly thereafter with one friend and one camera and no tripod and no lights. And I'm thinking to myself, what's going on here? You see, I had already had experience as a videographer since I worked at Tucson Community Cable Corporation, which was public access Tucson it was public access television for Tucson. So I had been trained in how to set up a studio and how to do good video. I said to her, where's the tripod? She says, we don't need tripods. We've been doing this forever. We don't need tripods. I said, where are the lights? She says, we didn't want any lights. We want to get the ambiance. She said, that would be much better to get the ambiance of the museum. And I also felt uncomfortable that there was only one camera, but I didn't say anything about that at that time. So we began to walk around the museum, and we did exactly what she said. We made up things as we went through the museum, and we did little vignettes. And it didn't really feel to me that they were very good. But after we finished, she said to me, she said, that was terrific. I said, really? She says, yeah, that was terrific. And she said to me, she says, I'll tell you what, you've agreed to pay me X amount of money just to come and do the video. She said, I will take the video, and for free, no additional charge, I will edit it, and that way you'll get a finished product. I got to tell you, editing's a big deal. Usually you figure an hour a minute, so it's an expensive proposition, and she was offering to do it for free. So I said, sure, I'll leave the video with you, and you can edit it for us. Now, as soon as we got away from her, my older son, who was about 17 years old at the time, said to me, he says, Dad, he says, that was horrible. And I said, yeah, I kind of thought so. He says, yeah, it was really bad. It was not good. But, you know, we were the Ozzie and Harriet family of ventriloquism, and she had said it was great, and she's a professional. So we went home, and we waited for the edited video to arrive. And we waited, and it didn't come, and we waited, and it didn't come. After waiting for a considerable time, I called her up and I said, we really would like to see the video. She says, well, it's almost ready for you to see. But I've been circulating, it's not quite finished, and I've been circulating it around my coworkers, and everybody here loves it. And they'd really like you to come so we could talk about other options, things that we could do with you, given how good this video is. And I said, but I haven't seen the video. She said, well, it's so good, it's not a problem. I said, I need to see the video before I come. She says, I'll make sure that I get you the video before you come. But we need to schedule a time for you to come and visit us because I want to make sure all my staff are there. So we scheduled a time, and I waited. And eventually, the video arrived. And of course, the first thing I did was I put it on and I watched it. And it was horrible. It was the worst. We had done a bad job. They had done a bad job. I was really unhappy with it. And I had already agreed to go and visit her. So I called up a friend who was working with me on this project, and I said, here's the dilemma. I have agreed to go back to see this woman, and now I've seen the video, and it's awful. I don't think I should go back. What do you think? He says, I think you should go back and see what they have to say. He said, I will go with you so that you have somebody who's objective to help you make a decision as to what to do. But it's worthwhile to find out what they want to say. So I bought airline tickets for myself and for my friend to go to Las Vegas. And a few weeks later, off we went. And when we got there, we were met by the woman and her staff. And one of her staff members had formerly been the manager for either Abbott or Costello, and he was probably in his 80s, and he was from New York, and he talked really fast. They kept telling me how great the video was, and he was telling me deals. You get to put in $10,000, and we'll put in this, and you put in that, and we'll do this. I mean, you're going to make infomercials. To this day, I don't know what we were making infomercials for, but it was all very fast, and they kept telling me how great it was. And by the time I left that conference, I was almost 100% sold. Not quite, but almost. And that night, we went out to dinner with the woman and with my friend who had accompanied me. And as a psychologist, I'm trained to pay close attention to what people say, how they say it, what they're telling me, how they look. And I guess I was paying close attention that night because something the woman said alerted me to the fact that this was nothing more than a scam and that I needed to get as far away from these people as possible. And so I turned down the offer. And the friend who had come with me afterwards said, you did the right thing. The video was horrible and it was a scam. And we went home and we never did the video, any more videos for them. We never became the Ozzie and Harriet Nelson family of ventriloquism, but we did learn some important things. One is you got to be careful. Anybody can be had at the right time because we hear what we want to hear. And of course, what I wanted to hear was that it was great and that they could do great things for us and we could become the Ozzie and Harriet Nelson family of ventriloquism. But that wasn't the case. So we lucked out in that for whatever reason, I was able to spot the flaw in their presentation, and we didn't end up getting taken for thousands of dollars by these people. And that is the end of this story. One more thing. I need to look at some of the other things that happened because of this trip. One thing that happened that was not so good is that the friend who came with me was a recovered gambling addict. And he came with me to Las Vegas. So guess what? He got re-addicted to gambling. Not a good thing. So that was one of the consequences that happened. A second thing that happened is that I got to know Valentine Vox, who was a very famous ventriloquist and who ran the International Ventriloquist Association, and they had festivals once a year. So I began attending these festivals and became much more involved with the world of ventriloquism, and that was a good thing. At these festivals, I met a man from Japan, Ikeda-san, and Takashi Ikeda-san, and he had the Japanese Ventriloquist Association. And Valentine was in contact with a woman who came to one of the other festivals that I had not attended, and she was a pediatric neurologist, a Japanese pediatric neurologist, who was about the same age as I was, which was quite unusual because women in Japan didn't often rise to that level in those days. because of sexism. And she called him up and said, I want somebody who knows about working with autistic children and using ventriloquism, because I'm researching this. Now, as a child psychologist, I had used my puppet with autistic children, so Valentine recommended me, which led to us going to Japan 3 times, where we performed and we educated people about how to do ventriloquism, to educate and counsel young children. Also, at the festivals in the United States, we did the same thing. I educated some of the people about how to use it to educate and counsel, and I performed in religious programs. I was one of the people who did a show during the Sunday religious festivals, and that was all really good. And of course, going to ventriloquism was amazing. I mean, going to Japan was totally amazing, and we loved it. Another thing that happened, one more thing. While I was going to the festivals, Mary and I met a young woman who was recently divorced and was kind of unhappy, and we got friendly with her. And she wanted to be a ventriloquist, and her ventriloquism puppet was a baby. And with babies, baby ventriloquism is easy because all they do is cry, so you go, wah, 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 wah. And if you try that, you can do it too. And she was a very nice person. We really liked her a lot. And lo and behold, Valentine fell in love with this woman. Kind of interesting, Valentine fell in love. I don't know. Anyway, Valentine fell in love with this woman, and they decided to get married. And they had an all ventriloquism wedding. They were both ventriloquists. The minister was a ventriloquist. The maid of honor was a ventriloquist. The best man was a ventriloquist. And Elwood, who was there with me, caught the garter. So I guess he was, he caught the garter. It was quite an affair. And I forgot to mention earlier that one of the things that I had learned after I had done that presentation, after I had that video made, was that they had sent a copy of that video to Valentine. And I was appalled. I liked Valentine, and I was just very upset that he got a copy of the video. So here we are at the wedding, and I said to the new wife, I told her the story about that I just told you. And I said, did you ever see a copy of the video? She says, I did. I watched it. I said, well, what'd you think? She says, it was great. I said, no, it was horrible. It was the worst. And that was the last time we ever talked about it. So that was one more thing, etc., etc. And on that note, I say bye for now. Hi, it's Dr. C again. And I'm here for the one more thing segment for the Ozzie and Harriet Nelson family of ventriloquism. You see, after I finished the last part, I realized that I forgot to tell you one of the most important parts of the story. The woman in Japan who was the one who suggested that we come was Dr. Michiko Hara, a pediatric neurologist. And it was because of her that we were invited. She encouraged Ikeda-san, who was the head of the Japanese Ventriloquism Association, to invite us to Japan because she wanted to talk to me about my work with children who had autism, my work with my puppets, using my puppets to work with these children. And if it weren't for her, we would have never been invited. Not only did she invite us, she invited us to stay at her house, which was wonderful. The first day when we arrived, she came and picked us up at the airport, took us to her house, and much to our surprise, served us an American meal so we would feel at home. She was a wonderful host and treated us like royalty. And not only that, she also formed the Japanese Puppet Therapy Association, and I am an honorary member of that association. So I spent time working with that association as well as working with the with the Japanese Ventriloquism Association. Again, if it weren't for Michiko, this would have never happened. And we loved her. We loved the way she treated us. We had some of our best experiences with her. And in a later memory, I will tell you at least one of those adventures we had with Dr. Hara. And on that note, I say bye for now.
My name's Elwood.
I'm Dr. C.
I need Fernwood.
Real flesh, that's me. Psychologist.
And thought that you are here because we care for you. Thank
Very good, Elwood.
you, Dr. C. I really like this story. I did, yeah.
Well, what'd you like about it particularly?
I like meeting other little wooden guys like me. I met them at the museum, and then I met them at the Ventriloquism festival. That was particularly fun.
Why was that particularly fun?
Because I got to talk to them, and they talked to me, and I learned a lot about being a wooden guy.
You learned a lot about being a wooden guy.
I did, yeah.
Well, it was a lot of fun for me as well. I learned a lot more about being a ventriloquist.
I noticed you did, and you had a lot of fun, too.
Yes, I did.
Dr. C,
What?
how long had there been wooden guys like me around?
Well, there have been wooden guys like you around for over 130 years. In fact, I used to watch them on television. I used to watch Edgar Bergen and Charlie McCarthy and Paul Winchell and Jerry Mahoney on the TV.
Wow,
You look pretty good. What do you mean I look pretty good?
well, you must be around 130 years old, so you look pretty good for that age.
I'm not 130 years old. I was not born way back when they started having ventriloquist puppets.
Oh, my mistake, Dr. C, my mistake.
Okay, your mistake.
Anyway, I got another question for you.
What's your question?
I want to know, did anybody ever fool you again like they almost did when we went to the museum?
Well, somebody almost fooled me again. In fact, not only almost fooled me again, it was just recently.
Really?
Really.
Was I involved?
Yes, you were involved once again. You seem to be involved when people try to fool me.
I wonder why that is.
I don't know. Anyway,
So what happened, Dr. C?
what happened is that I thought it would be nice if we went on a radio program on the computer in order to let other people know about our memory program that we've been working on.
That sounds like a good idea.
So I called up a woman who had a program that seemed like the right kind of program for me to be on.
And what happened? She told you, no.
No, she didn't tell me no. We spoke for a half an hour, and throughout the entire talk, she told me how good I was and how I fit so well into her program.
Well, that sounds good, not bad.
And then at the end of the talk, she said, I would like for you to come on my program.
So why didn't we go?
Well, after she told me that, she explained to me that the only way I could be on her program was to pay her money.
Wow, is that usual?
I guess some people do that, but usually if you go on the program, you're just a guest on the program and you don't have to pay anything.
So what did you do?
I said, no.
You learned that from me.
Yes, I did. I learned that from you. So that's what I told her.
And you didn't get to go.
That's right. I didn't get to go.
Why do they keep picking on you?
They keep picking on me because they think I want to be famous. And if you want to be famous, you're open to getting caught in a trap.
Caught in a trap. Isn't there a song like that?
Yeah, I think there is a song like that. Luckily, we didn't get caught.
Yeah, because that would hurt.
Yes, it would hurt more ways than you know.
Anyway, anything else that you want to say to me?
No, I think that's about it for now.
Well, I'm done too.
You're going to do your last poem at the end?
Yes, I am. And here it comes. Anyone can be fooled. A poem by Elwood Splinter. Dr. C can be fooled. I guess he's not that smart. But maybe anyone can be fooled when someone from the start tells you just what you want to hear and says it over and over again. That's when you have to listen with both ears so that you'll stay safe, my friends. The end. See you guys later. Adios. Hasta luego. Ciao. Tschüss. Sayonara. Shalom.